So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the role of a conductor, because as I said earlier, the role of a conductor is kind of a mysterious position. But before we go there, the San Diego Symphony, you've been doing this for a while.
Yes. For 14 years, I have been the music director. Now, I'm the Conductor Laureate of the San Diego Symphony Orchestra.
Now, Conductor Laureate, what does that mean?
That's honorary conductor. As laureate is like honorary, because of my work of rebuilding the orchestra post-bankruptcy, and then build this orchestra to a major top-tier orchestra in the country, which I also took them for first debut at the Carnegie Hall in New York, and also first international tour to China.
Wow, let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Now, the interesting thing about Maestro Ling is that he's not just San Diego's awesome conductor. He's done a lot of things outside of San Diego. How many orchestras have you been a part of?
Well, I have conducted all the major orchestras in the United States, and many, many prominent orchestras in Europe and in Asia and Australia.
Wow. So, you like this stuff.
I love it. To meet different audience, different orchestra, and to share my musical talent and gift and training with the people around the world.
Now, I'm going to ask the audience a question, and hopefully you don't get offended by this question. How many of you knew who this gentleman was before this wonderful TEDxChulaVista? All right. No worries. But I think they all know who you are. Can you play our first slide?
And now, to honor America, especially the brave men and women serving our nation in the Persian Gulf and throughout the world, please join in the singing of our national anthem. The anthem will be followed by a flyover of F-16 jets from the 56th Tactical Training Wing at MacDill Air Force Base, and will be performed by the Florida Orchestra under the direction of Maestro Jahja Ling and sung by Grammy Award winner Whitney Houston.
See that shift in your chair, can't you? You see it? You're like, oh, see, you saw that, right? You're like, now, do you know who I am now? You saw that, right? You saw that.
Thank you.
So let me ask the question again, audience. How many of you know who Jahja Ling is? I don't think we knew how amazing Whitney Houston was going to be at this moment, because we're still talking about that moment. How did you know that this was going to be big?
Well, I was the music director of the Florida Orchestra serving the Tampa Bay area at that time, and the Super Bowl 25, which is 1991, was held in the Tampa Stadium. And at that time, they were choosing who was going to perform the national anthem. And they have invited Whitney Houston, but they need somebody to back up. So instead of a piano accompaniment or something, they would like to have full orchestra. So they invited us, the Florida Orchestra. I believe it's probably the first symphony orchestra ever invited to perform at the Super Bowl, and I was the first classical conductor that ever invited. And then that was during a wonderful patriotic sense of era, which we just started the first Gulf War, I believe. Then. And then, so, the MacDill Air Force Base was based in Tampa with General Norman Schwarzkopf, head command. So the F-16 that flew over is come from MacDill Air Force Base, after the national anthem. And I was like, the feeling of the audience of 75,000 in the stadium, plus they said 750 million people watching on the television. That really amazing. I think probably that was my largest audience, right? And then I think today some of you probably watched the TV this morning, the royal wedding, right? And I had also the special privilege to be invited by the then Mayor Dianne Feinstein of San Francisco to perform specially for a special concert for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on the state visit to San Francisco. That was 1983. And it was a very special. So when I saw that picture again, of the Queen on the Duke of Edinburgh,
Right.
it was so special for me to have that relation because she was right there in the box watching me conduct the whole concerts.
So how many of you feel small right now? So my fascination is really in the role of a conductor. I think if you see a conductor, and I was fascinated by the students at East Lake Middle School, and I was fascinated by their passion for this thing called conducting. But when you see someone conduct, that's when you say, there's something there. I want to show you, actually before I show you, what's the biggest misconception of a conductor?
Well, a lot of people think conductors stand up there and just beat the time, or just give the tempo. You know, you want fast tempo, slow tempo. So people think that conductors is just giving that gesture. So in that case, that machine could do that.
Right.
The robot can do that, right? But the key of a conductor is not only giving the time, but knowing the scores of how the composer wrote that piece and how to interpret it, and explaining it to the musician how to perform that particular piece and with the emotional content.
Wow. So there's a lot there, huh? A lot there. Go, I know you want to say something else.
Yeah, what happened is that my teacher or mentor, Leonard Bernstein, probably you have heard most of Leonard, and he once told me when he taught me, is that when you look at a score, it's like you're doing anatomy, you know, like you dissect everything in the score and then trying to put it together. But a lot of time, you know, when you study anatomy, that's basically a cadaver or dead person or dead. But for you to study music, you not only analyze it and know what is going inside the score, but to be able to make it alive and make that sound alive to the audience and touch people's heart.
So he doesn't know this. When I first went to the symphony with my wife and my kids, I was not a connoisseur of symphonic music in this intimate setting. And I just was amazed at what was happening on that stage. And I fell in love with a man. And let me tell you why it's easy to fall in love with a conductor. I want to show you this piece. Here. What's going on? What's going on?
That was performed not by a professional orchestra. That was the Curtis Symphony Orchestra. Curtis Institute of Music is one of the best, or maybe some people arguably the best music school in the country or in the world. And they were very, very young people, like 16 to 21, those people that are performing. But they were able to express the emotional content of Mahler. This is Mahler Symphony No. 5, the Adagietto movement, which he wrote this especially for his wife, Alma Mahler, to show his love with the tenderness, the intimacy, and the passion. You see that movement, and suddenly something is suddenly become quiet, because he wants to express all the inner emotion of his love to his wife. Wow. So that's how the conductor has to inspire the orchestra, because the conductor himself or herself do not make any sound, only the orchestra make the sound. The conductor only makes the power of suggestion, the suggested thing that the orchestra should perform, the way, sometimes not the beat, but between the beat, between the notes. That's why the conductor have to really study their score thoroughly, historically, analytically, and then be able to formulate a concept in the mind of the conductor. And then digest it, become emotional content, which then you rehearse with the orchestra and tell them what to do with this piece.
Right.
And then when they perform for the audience, that was the result in the performance.
Wow.
So it's many steps in order that. First you have to study the score, then you have to analyze the score, and then you have to rehearse. And then in the performance, you have to also save that kind of spontaneity of performance. It's not all you rehearse, already done, and then you do again whatever you rehearse, and sometimes can be boring.
Right.
But you have to make it alive. Like my teacher, Leonard Bernstein, always said, you live the music. You have to live it.
Wow. You see the passion right there? And that's the passion on the screen. We have a special treat this evening, or this afternoon. We have someone who's going to be playing the piano, Jessie Chang. What's the difference between what you do and what she's going to do?
I just explained. The orchestra made the sound.
Just like a husband and wife, right? What do you mean you just explained?
It's a conversation, right? We just told everybody that the orchestra made the sound, produced the sound. The conductor only suggested. My baton doesn't make any sound, right? My baton only suggests sound. But a performer like Jessie, my wife, she's performing, she produced herself the sound. Whatever she wants to take the instrument to, according to her wishes, she will be able to do it. And this is what is a performer or an artist that directly an instrumentalist, either a singer or a string player, a woodwind player, or pianist.
All right.
So that's the differences.
You heard? Well, I want to thank you very much for giving us a sneak peek into who you are.
It's been a great pleasure working with you. Thank you.
Jahja Ling.
Thank you. All right.